Hello. Well, it was a better second half from us, but we huffed, we puffed, we lacked cutting edge. We knew that, all right. We talked that in the pre-match. We've got Dewsbury Hall injured, Illiman and Jai away at AFCON, and we were trying to figure out how are we going to break them down, make that impact to really test them. Our avenues in on goal led a lot to be desired, almost the entirety of that match. A lot of it being isolated, as we're very used to seeing, unfortunately, with the striker. At the beginning, it was Charlie Alcaraz with Barry. For the last 15 minutes, we saw a hard-working Merlin Roll doing his best, but being isolated, and his the final touch to basically link up with Beto not being there. There was a potential penalty shout for Everton where it was the foot of Barry got there first, and then Saliba clipped his ankle, but we didn't get the rubber the green there. It's a one of those kind of penalties where you really think if it happened to us, we'd be annoyed. But then again, because we've heard the expression, we've seen them given, you want to figure out what the consistent line on it is. I think it was maybe 2 years ago. There was one against Coleman where he like basically we hit someone else's ankle and they fell over and the call was given. So it's been an inconsistent one, but that was probably our best avenue in on goal was that penalty shout against Barry, which is kind of fitting for us. We chased, we were competitive, but we just lacked that cutting edge. So you've just come in right at the right moment, Ryan. I said we huffed, we puffed, we lacked the cutting edge, and the
Yeah.
effort was there. We definitely had a response, but it wasn't enough.
Well, apart from a lot of running and not really sure what else we offered in that game, and the reason I say that, Chris, is because we did run, we did press, we didn't just sit compact. And I think Moyes probably knew if he just sat compact, he doesn't quite have the legs and the pace to get up the pitch, and
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a completely different game. So we approached the game in good faith, Chris. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we were caught in two minds here. Now, from a tactical point of view, this is quite clear to me. I'll talk about the pressing. We almost needed an extra man in the press. Arsenal always found a way out. They always had an extra man, whether that was in midfield or one of the fullbacks. They knew that. They got the players to
Mm-hmm.
play out of the press. And so Everton would have had to commit an extra midfielder forward. And I think we should have potentially done that. But then the caveat to that, Chris, and to all those watching, is you leave yourself a little bit isolated in that midfield. So let's say James Garner or Tim Raboon join the press. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
one pass potentially if Everton don't win the ball back, don't recover it into that midfield, and then you're running at that back four, which Everton really struggle for me defending space. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we could commit the extra man forward to try and win the ball back higher up the pitch and to try and press, and we did nearly have some success doing that. But I think the lack of numbers meant that Arsenal ultimately were able to play into midfield, play out of the art for our press, and we had to make a choice. Are we going to add another midfielder? Are we going to get everyone involved and go man for man, or are we going to do this? And I think Moyes thought probably agreed with me. If we don't add that extra man into the press, Arsenal are going to get in behind, going to get in front of, run at our back four very easily, and get balls in behind. So that is the first thing tactically that I noticed we tried to do. The second thing is we just woeful progressing the ball from defence. We don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to get the ball through the line. There was some attempt to try and get into the midfield later into the game, but it's always going to our fullbacks. Sorry if the background noise is if it is it. Can you hear it? Is it very obstruct?
Nah, no, I can't hear anything.
Okay. We just struggle to build from the back, and one of the comments there, deserve result. It probably is, but it sickens me that it was a stupid. It's
Mm-hmm.
after 10 o'clock at night. I think you know what I'm going to say. It's happened disgrace. What happened?
That one. You got see the
It's
photo?
just stupid. He's a 6 foot fucking six centre back, and I've told you he jumps 5'2". Not acceptable,
Yeah.
honestly. But there's a lot to digest, Chris. Go on.
Yeah. For that penalty too. And people are saying, what was he thinking? I think honestly, it wasn't as truly like there was a reason behind it. I think he lost track of the ball. He may have been distracted from the penalty shout on the play before that because wasn't that was the VAR decision where Jokeres dives pretty easy. Pickford yells at him to get up, and then I think it was the consequent corner where it came in. He lost track of the ball somehow, and then he kind of backed up and didn't realize Zubamendi was right on him, and his hands were kind of then stuck in an elevated position because he was jammed up against Zubamendi, and it was too late.
Why are the
But it's
hands?
like,
Why are the hands above
why are
his
the
head?
hands?
Both
That's
hands.
the part I don't
Sorry.
understand. But yeah, because when you're trying to, some people use their hand, like if he was out of position and had to compensate, some people will use their hands to kind of get themselves up. But it's because he misread it that I think he threw up his hands to try and get up out of position, leading to that scenario.
Yeah, but
Is it?
even if
It's
you're
visible?
jumping with
No.
your arms out, they don't normally go like you're holding them up above your head like this.
Yeah,
Both of
because
them.
I think he started like this, and then Zubamendi came in immediately as he was jumping, and his arms were stuck in the air. That's what it looked like. Still, it was a poor move, and unfortunately, that one error was the difference maker. Yes, Arsenal hit the post at least twice.
But they
One of
didn't
them, I
score.
think, was they didn't score from them, but they were rattling our cage. Let's
It's
say
not a
a
question
lot
of
more than
whether
we were.
Arsenal deserved it or not. They did deserve to win. They were the
Right.
better team.
They
But
only scored one
but they
though.
didn't score. They didn't
Right.
score a
They
goal, and the goal they did score is a gift from, in my opinion, is brain dead.
yeah.
And
No,
it's the type of
it's a gift
thing,
from the
Chris,
top.
that if we
Yeah.
had, if we had strength and depth in the old Moyes days, he'd get taken out the team next week for that.
Hmm.
He would.
Well, we're not putting Nathan Patterson there, are we?
I think it spoke volumes that he could have chucked him on at the end there to try and add another crossing outlet. But we were never. Sorry, I don't want to jump ahead too much, but we were never really
No.
looking like we were going to get back into it. Really, apart from a brief spell.
Well, yeah, I think the one thing we did do is we gave the fans something to get excited about because we made battles. It wasn't just in our half. Like the second half or second quarter of the game, the second half of the first half, I was thinking, what are we going to do? Because it just felt like we were a shell of ourselves. Declan Rice and Erdegaard were just controlling it. They did control it in the second half, but we battled. Eric Boonham and Garner deserve a lot of credit for making it scrappy in there. Like they also got outdone, right? But we know, in my opinion, they're
They were
notably not.
outnumbered.
They were outnumbered, but they're not as good as the people on the other side of the aisle here, the
Can we
Reds.
say that the two central midfielders for Everton were okay? And Everton's two centre backs, in fairness, were actually quite good. Michael Keane, in
Yeah,
particular, was probably, considering who he was up against, was really good.
he handled
Um,
Saka sometimes. Like to me, it was
Mikalenko
huge.
generally did okay as well. But for me, I'm not saying I know there's a fan club for this guy, but Jack Grealish was shite today. He
He
was
he
he was
was
crap.
he was missing. Yeah,
It was
and
anonymous, and McNeil was terrible as well. Giving the ball away, giving it back to them, looking completely lost on that side of the pitch. Grealish, you could see on our group chat, I was losing my marbles because he was leaving runners and he was letting people run beyond him, and then Arsenal would often
yeah,
have 3v2 or 3v1 down that right hand side of theirs and get overloads, and they could have scored goal after goal because he's not following. You have to do the basics of the defending in order to get
right.
yourself into the you know, to have an impact at
And
the other. It was a game it's a game too many for us, really, with the squad we've got.
yeah, do you agree that? I mean, I know that's almost a pun in the phrasing here, but Jack Grealish looked leggy because in the final 15 minutes, there was a few times that really stood out to me that Merlin Roll broke forward, and he turns around going, "Where's my reinforcements?" And Mick, he's like, Jack Grealish was playing left back.
Should have been subbed off. Yeah, he should have been
Right.
subbed off.
So
But we
it was
didn't
a
have
bit
anyone
strange to
there.
me. Right.
We didn't
And
have
then
anyone to bring on.
eventually, and that was the one thing I was a little bit disappointed with the role because his running and athleticism was clearly there, but it almost seemed like his passes were about 20% too heavy. And he was giving the ball away, but it's like maybe it's more time with that team in that position or just getting the adrenaline to slow down because he's finally able to play again. Maybe that's all it needed, but him and there was a few moments where Grealish and him did not interface that well, and you're wondering again if they're coming down that left side, you expect Grealish to provide the support, and maybe it was a tactical thing where they knew that they could pass around and bypass Grealish because Declan Rice was playing right central midfielder, Jurriën Timber is a beast, honestly, just busting down. He's quite athletic, quite pacey,
Yeah,
and Saka. That's three
I
excellent
think
players. They're basically the best of
yes,
Arsenal right there.
yes. And I wouldn't be surprised if we go after someone like Ben White, who may be available at Arsenal, who's a right back who can play centre back. It stinks of a
Yeah.
David Moyes type player, to be honest, but even he doesn't offer anything from an offensive point of view. Um, you're right, because Grealish was asked with playing high and wide, as he does, very high, very wide. And so he's going to be up the pitch. And when the ball breaks down, he's out of position. He's got to run back the whole length of the pitch. Now, the way
Mhm.
to combat that is one of the centre backs has to step in, or one of the two midfielders has to step across. But then that leaves you one in midfield. So
Yeah.
in turn, Alcaraz then has to drop in to support. Alcaraz, in fairness, yeah, Alcaraz has to be the one that goes over to the side, whichever side the
Yeah.
player's on, to go
And
with Odegaard. He didn't. I'm not
yeah,
saying he played bad. I'm just saying we allowed them, we dropped off. We allowed them in those moments. They could have killed us, Chris. They could have killed us 2, 3, 4, 5-0.
right.
I don't even think we
We
had a
paid the
shot on
woodwork
target.
today. Yeah, I don't think we did either. I whatever we did to pay the woodwork, I'm very appreciative because it did a bang up job on Pickford's left on that second half because
Well, it kept
they
the goal
definitely
difference down. But
yeah
I'll tell you,
because we got pulled. Yeah,
I'll say one thing before Basil comes in. If we have Njai, Dewsbury Hall, and Branthwaite in that team, someone who can defend the space. I'm not saying
uh
it was bad, by the way, Ross, but I don't think it was that bad. It was just a nothing game. It was just a nothing. It was just kind of like meh.
well we know where we came second. Clearly, that's it.
We'd have given them a real good game if we had the full strength 11. I really do believe that. I think it would have been we could have got a point from it. But yeah, David, get Basil in.
Yeah,
It's not even a game I can sit here raging. Apart from raging about Jake
no,
O'Brien being an utter moron, I can't even sit there and fume at the players because there's nothing left in the tank.
right. And that's where I say we huffed and we puffed because what's there to talk about? That we gave a lot of effort. We didn't have the tactical nous to play to shut them down because you know what they decided 2 years ago. I think it's 2 years now to bring in David Raya, excellent by foot, and basically did Pep Guardiola build up from the back, and that his ability with the ball means that we needed to bring up an extra player to
Yeah.
try and take them on. And we didn't trust. We don't have a Branthwaite by foot, therefore we can't trust Tarky or Michael Keane to be isolated against a striker or a pacey player. Therefore, we bring all of our players forward while being bypassed, and then we lose in the middle to negotiate, not taking too much of a risk going forward while keeping a man back. The midfield loses. Hence, they can manipulate us with the likes of Declan Rice and Zubimendi. Or Erdegaard when he cuts back in. Hi, Basil.
Basil. They keep the ball really well, Arsenal. They make it. That is part of the problem as well when you're chasing the game because they don't make that many mistakes in possession, and they must just practice this all day long. You'd think all teams do it. It's hard to get the ball off them, and I also think they showed us a lot of respect. The fact that they're willing to get the ball into the corner, and try and take the piss says that they really did see us as a threat. But I think if you ask any Evertonian before kickoff, you're missing your best defender. You're missing 3 of your 4 key midfielders. You would have just said it was probably going to be going through the motions for us.
I think it's in their head too, though, because they've been giving away last-minute goals when they were keeping clean sheet against Wolves and one slipped by. So I don't think they trust themselves defensively right now, which is why they're being probably a little bit extra leggy, nervous, whatever term you want to give for why they're going to the corner flag, because they know that they're at the moment a little bit prone to letting a goal slip up.
Yeah, they're not quite firing at 100% Arsenal at the moment. I spoke to an Arsenal fan this morning. He said they were poor the other night at Wolves, and I think they have slipped up a couple of results as you've seen it towards the end. But they're not the sort of side that gonna really blow away lots of different. They're not going to blow away everyone in the league like City would in their prime or Liverpool. You know, they kind of get the goal and kind of. They're so good, as you said, in possession and physicality wise and defensively. They really give up many goals, and that makes it really difficult to get back in the game when you give away such poor goal And
Well,
I really thought Everton were absolutely clueless after the goal. I thought they had a really good start considering who they were up against and used their crowd and used their energy. But after the
Good
goal,
20
I think
minutes.
what happened, that needs reviewing with them, because their heads just seemed to drop. It was like that's game over, and just didn't compete for the. It could have been more if Arsenal had taken advantage of it.
We did compete though in terms of the physical output. We just
in
didn't
that
compete in terms of the technical output.
in that 20 minutes. Well, we ran, but we didn't. We weren't near them. They're just passing it round as we like the
Because it
first.
wasn't like a full press, was it? It was like it would
Yeah,
send a few of them, but then Arsenal would always have a man over to kind of get out the press.
but the
That's what we
first 20
talked about
minutes
before.
was
yeah, we had to come
promising.
at them.
Because we had to go and press them because they knew that Moyes probably knew they'd just play ping pong between them at the back the whole match and just run the clock down. So we have
And
to
they'd be
go and
happy
get the
to do
ball
that.
off them. They weren't
Yeah,
willing.
we didn't. We didn't. That's what I'm saying. We just kind of sat around. They had the ball too much. Gave them so much respect. 1-0 down. It was like game over. At least in the second half, we went back more to what we did in the first 20 minutes. Albeit we were 1-0 down. That because of the lack of players that we have at our disposal, it is a tougher ask to get something, to get a goal. The creativity is dropping off with the lack of the obvious players. I thought some players played quite well for us actually, and others just really struggled in the game.
Who do you think stood out?
Well, I don't know about standing out, but I just thought Garner and Irabunum in the midfield were competitive and won their battles, and Garner just chases everything, and he never looks like he's going to give something easily away. The back line were generally okay, and I just thought like Alcaraz was really poor. I don't know how he stayed on the pitch. Really, I wanted him to come off at half time. Must have had about 7-8 touches in the first half, and most of them went straight to an Arsenal player. It just looked like a headless chicken. He does press, but I can't excuse.
He's got no football brain, has he, David? There was one moment where he was running 1v1 against an Arsenal central defender in the first half, and he just has to do something. You're a fucking forward player. If you can't do anything in those moments, then you are completely redundant. But he just ended up giving it away or falling over or slipping up. And between him and McNeil, very poor. And you can see why they're not getting. I mean, I was at the Wolves game at the start of the season, so I know why they're not playing these players. But this is why I'm very conscious of the things that we need to address in January. The fullbacks to help us build from the back, to help us offer some width, to allow our two wide forwards to kind of cut inside and play it between the lines and get in the box, because you've got that width and athleticism. And I think Anthony Robinson at Fulham, for example, is that type of profile.
Yep.
I know he's been injured, but that is exactly what you need. And then maybe another number 6, because we're very short in there. And then what are we going to do about the striker situation? Because Barry and Better have got 2 goals between them in 15 games. It is laughable. I'm not being overly critical. I'm not saying that Beto's had chances and put on a plate for him every time he's come on. That's not true necessarily. But we don't look like scoring. And Grealish, they're talking about signing him on a permanent deal. But I wouldn't pay more than 20 million for him, because he's a player who's not scoring goals. And in a front 3, you got to score more than 2 in half a year.
And Jai and Dewsbury Hall are our top goal scorers comfortably. And right now they're both not in the squad. And I want to get a raw, visceral reaction from Basil on this one. What are your thoughts on the Barry penalty shout? Because it looked like he was clearly got his foot in first. Saliba clipped his ankle. He went down. We didn't get the rub of the green. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. He's caught his leg, but the question is, does that mean it's a penalty? Well, it's a foul anywhere else on the pitch, so really it's a penalty then, isn't it? But you can see it would be soft, but I don't know. I've seen a few of those in the past, and they don't seem to get given. But really, it's a foul, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because I've seen them given, but if you had to give one penalty today, it was going to the Jake O'Brien one. But I think it was marginally a penalty.
Well,
what do you think?
What
Ryan?
was more of a penalty, the push in the back or that?
Are you talking about the one that Gyökeres fell on the ground from O'Brien?
Yeah.
No, that wasn't a penalty. He fell very easy. There was one other one that could have been a penalty shout, but it was just outside the box, so they couldn't do a VAR decision. They were maybe going to say it was a red card, except Barry was not running in on goal. So that one could have been a penalty shout, but it was he was outside the box, right? So I think the Barry getting his foot in first being clipped counts. Because, okay, I'm thinking back. Phil Foden about 2 years ago was trying to clear the ball from out, like in his defensive penalty area, and someone's foot comes just at the right opportune moment, and he knocks him, kicks him over, and a penalty was given against City. It's the same.
Keane did that as well once.
Yeah,
he was clearing the ball and stood on someone who he couldn't see.
Yeah.
It's a penalty. It's a penalty. It's a clear penalty. He stands on he kicks his leg. So it's a foul. So therefore it's a penalty. But you can argue that Everton were looking for it. They were trying to buy a penalty. They were trying to do something. At that point, I felt we had more joy because when we were being very aggressive and we were being quite compact in the long balls. But the problem that's glaringly obvious for me with that 11 today was there was no one with any pace. There was no one who was able to beat a man. And there was no one who looked like scoring. It was kind of just like, we'll send up a bunch of kids and I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's just such a going through the motions kind of game, isn't it? It's just like handing them through. We might as well have gone and done something different. But what else? I haven't got an issue with Moyes in some regards because he did ask them to go and press. He didn't just say go and play low block. But maybe he lacked an extra player in the press and thought, I have to because I haven't got enough defenders who can defend the space.
What Aussie Chris said before, it was one of my points that I had as well. That the goalkeeper for them, I thought I haven't watched them enough, but he's really good, isn't he? He just his distribution, it just makes all the difference because if you've got that last man in the press getting pressurized, it's usually the goalkeeper who forces you into a mistake or gives the centre back a poor ball. His distribution is so good. It comes into it goes. And his long distribution goes right into the corner of the touchline, but it stays in place. It's very impressive, but it really helps them to get across the pitch and not lose the ball when they're being pressed.
Yeah, he's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, isn't he? Really, and they always said Alisson and Pickford was Pickford, and probably Donnarumma now is actually overtaking them. But he was the extra defender at the back, and he was composed. So you can argue that's why you can't get an extra man in the press. Yeah. Because he's effectively an extra player. I mean, how often are we pressing the goalie, really?
This is where, for me, like in the summer, I wanted a pacey winger. Like you just need someone to get you up the pitch to be able to just take it past the man. And I don't need end product at that moment. I need to get up the pitch and then give it to your more creative technical players. We don't have that, so it's very difficult to progress, especially when
what creative technical players.
Well, just feed it into a Garner or a McNeil, someone who's got the ability to deliver a ball that might be headed in. But if you're not even getting up the pitch and you've got Arsenal got the 10 men behind the ball, then it's very hard, isn't it, to get.
You need numbers in the box and commitment going forward without the worry of it being turned over and us exposed, because every time we gave it over, that's when they look dangerous. Like you're talking the worst part of that second part of the first half, the second quarter of the game. They knew we were behind, so we had to come to them. Otherwise, they are disciplined, would sit back. So we came out of our shell, exposed our position, lacked the leg speed, so they can just bypass us and come back. So we were very worried that we didn't have the defensive ability. I think ever since Branthwaite's been out, we can't take the risk going forward because we're exposed with the lack of pace, unfortunately, with Keane and Branthwaite. Keane, Tarkowski, O'Brien, and then Mikalenko's our fastest player. So there's a huge risk. At the same time, if what you're saying about, and Ryan brought up saying, look like we brought a bunch of kids on, one of the things I starred was this comment. I think it's perfectly fitting. And of course that, /1332 has a baby face cartoon on his profile there. When was the last time we played a combo like that?
Well, that's an overload, isn't it? Guys, let's accept that's come down the right hand side. Grealish is not following the runner. The number 10 isn't coming across to help, and they just play around and then play it across. You've always got a man over, and he should score, and that's what happens if you've always got a man over. I don't feel particularly angry, but there is a bit of a numbness, and I think Arsenal could have easily gone away with a 3-0 there. based on those moments that were really big, huge
Yeah.
moments, very clear chances.
You look at that, they hit the post twice, didn't they? The first was Trossard, then it was, I think, Zubimendi, right-hand post. Then you think it might actually be Everton's day to sort of get something from the game. Look, they've not scored. You think they're going to make it 2. They didn't. They had to cling on, and it felt a little bit like Everton could get something from the game. It just never materialised in that last 10 minutes. Almost after the substitutes, weirdly, we actually got worse. Despite everything I said about some of the players who were on the pitch, it actually got worse when the subs were made.
Yeah, but the starting position of both of our wide players is very deep and kind of always want the ball in front of the defender rather than willing to go in behind a fullback or in between a pocket or somewhere dangerous. Grealish always needs to be high and wide. Dibbling and McNeil are kind of high and wide. And that is the problem for me. I probably need to go. I've got to actually go, guys. I do apologise.
Yeah,
I didn't realise this corridor. I'm in a hotel and there's bedrooms literally. So I'm going to drop out. I'm going to go onto the headphones. I've done well to be on for 26 minutes. But maybe everyone in the rooms is actually at this party, so we're okay. But yeah, I just think the starting position sometimes for our players. In an ideal world, we've got a decent left back who's in the wide area, and Grealish tucks in as a 10 or can come in off that side to influence rather than having to be so wide. And I think that is just going to be a problem until we address it in January or in the summer.
Yep.
Go on.
I was actually going to bring up some heat maps on SofaScore. So if you want to swap over, Ryan, I can show with Basil some tactics.
Thanks. I'm going to put my headphones in and listen to you guys. Bye-bye.
All right. So yeah. All right. So let me bring this up, Basil, because we're just talking about the width and where we're setting up our team. And I think this is actually something we should really have a look at here. So let me zoom in and see if this is working correctly. We'll tuck us up here on the top. Are you seeing this come in? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
good.
What I'm looking at here is this is Dwight McNeil versus Jake O'Brien's positioning. So McNeil played very central, actually, a lot of the time. So he wasn't really advancing down that side. And who took up the majority of that width was actually Jake O'Brien. But he wasn't consistently delivering crosses. So he was occupying dead space a lot of the time, or the squad didn't trust giving him the ball. On the flip side, we had Jack Grealish, who was again occupying that space, but he went further in than the likes of O'Brien. But of course he is. He's a left winger. Mikolenko bombed on, but he had a lot of defensive responsibilities. The one that I think would be kind of interesting to look at would be, say, Eric Boonham and where he covered the pitch, because I think he was chasing a lot and actually had a lot of almost Amadou Onana level slide-in tackles today with Tarkowski. So exactly. So right in here, in that spot, but just where Tarkowski sits, he spent a lot of time helping out and digging out a lot of challenges on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, well, you've got Mikolenko's obviously the deepest defender, which is interesting, but he did cover a lot of those balls in behind, and he probably dropped off quite a bit thinking, oh, Saka's here. How am I going to stop it? But Arsenal tended to attack on that right-hand side the most. He seemed to get the most joy in there, which is, if you look at our map, obviously, where we have least protection and least players. So maybe there's something in that as well.
Timber was, if you look at the heat map, he was a rash. Look at that.
Yeah.
Look how advanced he is. And his predominant heat map spot over the entire pitch is on the edge of our 18-yard box. We don't see that from our right backs, do we? And Saka was basically, this is when we talk about the overloads, yeah? So Odegaard bounced around all over the shop, helping support that overload with Saka and Jurriën Timber. But Timber would advance on because of his natural being right-footed. He came into that advanced position, allowing Saka to often sit right behind him, getting a pass back where he could cross with his left foot or looking to cut in. And then what I've also found, actually, I'm a bit surprised on, was Declan Rice's positioning being that far deep. I guess he dropped in to the left centre-back position a lot on the build-up play, and that's where he would start from. So
Yeah.
I thought he was more advanced than this, but I think that's because he got so much of the ball in those areas and distributed. But he was, I think, probably their best player today, Declan Rice.
Yeah, he was good. He was competitive, and his deliveries are excellent.
Yeah. Anyway, that
Yeah.
was the heat map I wanted to show you because I think it just kind of showed. We're talking about the overloads. Timber, Saka, Odegaard on that side. Jack Grealish and Mikolenko weren't doing enough to help. And if you look at where, I guess the final piece of it, if you looked at James Garner, he tried to cover everywhere. The problem is,
Everywhere.
how do we cover that left side? Who was the cover on our left side? Michael Keane did a whole lot today, and he did help fill in, but it's just not the Jared Branthwaite athleticism and pace that's what we're missing. I think it would have been a very different match if he could help with those overloads on that left side. But
Yeah.
guess what? He's injured. We don't have Njai right now. We don't have Jeffrey Hall. Those are the difference for us.
They had decent games, Keane and Tarkowski. If you want to have more pace, I suppose you put Jake O'Brien there and you accept he might not be quite as solid as a defender, but he'll offer you that pace and that different structure in the build-up. We'll have Branthwaite back soon, which I guess he'll be sort of phased into it. There's no need to rush him into it after being out so long, but it'll be good to have that outlet at the back to cover.
Yeah, and I think we've been crying out for this one as well. So what's it, Martin John, Cassidy, I guess doubled up the name there. This has been something we've been crying out for. It's obvious, and you'd really hope by now that they've had another 6 months of trying to get a signing, maybe more funding available to us now. We need a right back, potentially another winger, because we have at least one winger with pace in Iliman and Jai. We do actually have one other one called Tyler Diblin, who is not either confident, not given the confidence from the manager, and not firing on all cylinders. He's got pace. We know he just hasn't been showing it. Those little moments where he tried to take on players today, but he's not the one. So we have Njai, and that's it from a pacey winger perspective. But where I think we really have the problem is we need someone different than Jake O'Brien for right back, who occupies that same area in an advanced right position, but actually punishes teams for not utilizing his. If someone is in that position that he was, and he can deliver crosses and cut in and do what Timber did to us, that's the difference we need. And of course, a striker to knock it in, but we need everything to feed the ball to the striker. Today, it was not Barry's fault, and it was not Beto's fault that we didn't score. It was they were left isolated in a very difficult position against world-class defenders that Arsenal are. So we still need improvements when there's a goal-scoring opportunity, but there was no opportunities for them to manufacture.
Yeah, I mean, if we had two quality fullbacks, as you say, it would revitalize the way we play. Two good attacking fullbacks. Imagine putting Anthony Robinson in the team and another. I can't think of a right back just straight off the head.
Oh, wait, am I wrong here? Isn't Robinson a left back?
Yeah, I'm saying if we had two quality fullbacks to put into the side. But even if we had two Anthony Robinsons equivalent, one on the right, one on the left, can you imagine it? Basically, someone with that energy and that ability to deliver a ball and that outlet, that it would just change the way we play. We would evolve with that, and you'd think it wouldn't be the most expensive thing to get in. It's not like buying a top striker or something. But we've touched on the striker. It's still an issue. Obviously, Ryan was quite clear. 2 goals in 15. It's just not working. You've got Calvert-Lewin scoring 5 goals in the last 5 games, which adds insult to
that happened to Beto last year. All of a sudden, he had his moment. I mean, we can like or dislike DCL, but he deserves credit, and I'm happy for him. I just wouldn't want him back either. Just right now, he's on form. Right, like we know what it's like to have these players have their moment. It's none of our players are having their moment right now. That's it.
I mean, if we look at it in some sort of sense of positivity, we didn't concede a goal from open play today. And we lost
shouldn't have conceded anything.
Yeah, we lost the ball for very poor giveaway penalty, which is really inexcusable. But that's the fact. It was a narrow, it was a narrow win for them. It doesn't affect the goal difference too much. We didn't really expect to win the game. It is hard to take that it was such a terrible giveaway, but that's taking the positives, isn't it, from a game with a highly depleted first 11. But it is concerning how the drop off between our first 11 and having to use players off the bench part of the team.
Yeah.
We just don't gel. We don't play. We don't look convincing at all.
No, and well, the thing is, Basil, we've known for, I don't know, 3-4 years that unless you have, let's say, billions of dollars at your disposal and somehow have the legal team to bypass PSR, okay, which we don't. We're not Man City. How do you shake up a squad that quickly when you have aging players that no one else wants, and you want to bring in have youth, a youth team coming through, and B, have like instant ready players? The answer is it can't happen over a season. This team is better than last season, I think. Dewsbury Hall and Grealish improve us. Njai is now at another level. Charlie Alcaraz is more confident. I think we've lost a couple people have gone downhill a bit, and that's Dwight McNeil primarily, and I suppose maybe Beto a little bit, but he was just, I think, had that purple patch. So what we're also now saying is we need another phase or maybe another year of tactical improvements of two players per transfer window improving. We know we need a right back. We can't just have an aversion to right-footed players and sympathize with, we don't need 7 left-footed players on the pitch. We've got Pickford, we have Mikalenko, we have Dewsbury Hall, we have Njai, we have
he's right-footed, but
Charlie Alcaraz is left-footed too, I think. And then
right-footed.
Dwight McNeil you throw into there, and then and Grealish, and you go like, wait, how's half of the team left-footed? We're putting left-footers on the right side. When you grow up, we don't have enough left-footers, so we put right-sided players into the left fullback position, and somehow we've done the inversion. Let's find some right-footers, okay? That's so a right back, absolutely. A pacey winger would be a good addition, and maybe that just allows for, hey, Jack's tired, he's worn himself out, he's done a defensive spot here, has been bypassed by an overload on that side, bring in a new player. Dibbling's kind of that, but I think we need one more. And then, yes, a new striker, or find a way to get them more involved so they can actually finish and get their confidence back.
So who's your 2 most important out of those, if you only think we're going to get realistically 2? I mean, even in January,
we need a right back first, because if we have on our starting 11, if Ilman and Njai and Grealish are starting, we can score goals through those positions. I'd rather start well instead of needing a winger for the final 30 minutes of the match. I'd rather have 60 minutes out of a right fullback and put in O'Brien into his ideal spot.
So would you choose a right back, and what would be your next priority?
After that, I think I want a central midfielder, but the problem is we've kind of stuck with Garner Gay, who has moments but is not the future anymore. Merlin Roll, he could be that person for us. He just hasn't been fit enough and consistent in that position. We do need a striker, absolutely, because I think when we have Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, and Njai in front, then we're proven we need a better striker. Barry's getting close, but I don't think we need somebody different, even if it's a loan deal for somebody that's basically can get 20 goals a season. We need someone. Maybe it's Ivan Toney, someone a little bit polarizing. That maybe he goes to Saudi for money, decides he wants to get back in the England squad. We've got a lot of fixer-upper English footballers. I honestly thought Jack Grealish, by the way, backed into Saka just so he could get his spot in the England squad next season, but I don't think he meant it. Do you see the one we're talking about? He backed into and stomped his foot.
Yeah. I did see that, but he got the wrong side. He won't
He
get
got
an
his right foot. He need to get his left foot, Jack.
offer.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, but
Entirely
that's not a
different.
priority, is it? That's you've just lamed everybody. So
No, but
would you be content with just the right back solution in
I
January?
think the right back is step one. We have the depth in central midfield the second AFCON comes back. In
Yeah,
centre back, there's no point getting a new centre half right now. If we are committing to Asnu as a future project and he played for Bayern, we have a future spot with him. If our future right now is Patterson and we'd rather play James Garner, right back needs to change. And probably a new striker as well. I like Beto. I like Barry by that. You can tell that they care about, like, they're passionate players. I appreciate that. But the other problem is, how do we get someone that is of the Moyes? How do we get a striker that works under Moyes? That's been a
yeah.
challenge at most places. I guess Jared Bowen, but I don't think we're going to get him from West Ham.
No, it doesn't seem realistic. We are, when you do put it that way, though, we are thin on the ground or everywhere. I mean, you say we're fine AFCON, post AFCON, but we're only bringing Garner Gay, and you've got two other
No,
midfielders.
it's been the injuries to Merlin Roll, but because if we got one more player right now, you'd say, okay, Dewsbury Hall, James Garner. And part of the problem why we seem so thin in the midfield, a lot of the season has been James Garner's been filling everywhere else, left back, right back. You may as well play striker for us and say, well, we need a central midfielder, bring Jimmy back, right? So if you have James Garner, Garner Gay, and Dewsbury Hall, and then as bench options, you have Charlie Alcaraz, Merlin Roll, Eric Boonham, and we have Armstrong to bring back from loan. We have some depth there. The problem is you need probably one more player just when people get injured. But if you bring a star in, then you've got to kick out Garner Gay out of that lineup, and you basically lose him to bring in a new player of that caliber. You know, that's the tricky part in that position.
Yeah, but we're always going to have some injuries, so it's always going to get exposed a little bit with the injuries, and as you said, Garner moving all over the pitch. But we've only got two strikers, realistically. We've only got two wingers that we trust, and we've only got two centre backs, really, because one of the other centre backs playing a right back. Well, I mean, it's quite thin, I would say, but I think we're saving on the wage bill so we can keep afloat with finances and things like that.
Yeah, and I think we're nearly out of the clear, right? But is the final season of the PSR trouble period of like paying off the stadium? We've still got one more year of that. We're not over, but we can't spend excessively until we're out of it. I think I don't want to be wrong there, so I want to stop before I go
not
down
sure,
without knowing the
we've
details.
We've got loan market we can still use.
Yeah. Or the one that I think would be interesting from the midfield is the industrious Conor Gallagher. They've been talking about him coming back from Napoli. I think that would be an interesting one.
Is that realistic?
I mean, if he's not getting time there, or the likes of McTominay, these players are not getting the time and are losing international value. Because I was actually in the pre-match, Ryan was going, why doesn't Asanu go to AFCON? And then I looked up all the players being snubbed from AFCON. One of them was Simon Adingra, who is excellent. He moved from Brighton to Sunderland. Didn't get and hasn't got the time and basically match time to justify getting to the World Cup. So if players need to build that exposure and brand, we've been kind of that. I mean, Jan always likes to say we're the broken toys players. We're not actually broken toys at the moment. Just because you're on the bench doesn't make you actually broken. I'm not to be cruel to the likes of Delhi and whatnot, but we're not bringing in the likes of Delhi. We're actually bringing in players that were good, tried to move once too many and got caught not in the right system for them, are still capable, have proven it in the Premier League, Dewsbury Hall, Grealish. And that's where Conor Gallagher and McTominay would be that caliber. They're not, they're has-beens. They're still there. They've had a season where it isn't clicking because of the system and one move too many. So I think Conor Gallagher would be an interesting one, and he would be open to it to try to get himself in to the World Cup squad.
Or Kobe Mainu at United.
Yep, I've heard Mainu as well. Yeah, right. So, but these kind of players are not over the edge. They're still well in their physical prime. There's not an injury concern to them. They've proven recently what they're capable of doing. It's not like they can't get back to it. They just need structure. And you know what? Michael Keane is a perfect example of how you can turn it back around by having the opportunity to play. So
yeah, we just got to think of some examples in the same vein that are right backs, left backs, and attacking players as well.
We can't inject any more adrenaline into the veins of our spiritual leader of Seamus Coleman. Unfortunately, we need something new, and I don't think Patterson's it. So
Didn't see
and I would love it to be Roman Dixon, but I haven't seen him enough to know if how he's doing in the youth squad. Because if he was doing better, we'd see him by now.
Yeah, Moyes would be using players if he was content with trusting them. It was Patterson on the bench today. It looked like a very thin bench.
Yeah. So Bogle would be an option for defensive right back. Yeah. Just looking for any right back that's I don't watch. I mean, this is where there's perfect conversation for Corey, because I think he watches either more time on his hands or watches more football than I do, outside of, let's say, Premier League, to say who are the players that are capable and not getting time across the various leagues that is just the odd one out at the moment. And that's the kind of person we're looking for, that still maybe mid-20s, has played in the Premier League before or a physical league and just isn't getting the game time and is unhappy in his current role. And it'll help everyone to move him to Everton. There must be players like that. And there must
be good championship players
asking that too.
There will be good championship players who play in physical league, who could make a step up and at least contribute something off the bench.
Yeah, but I'm not wanting a bench player. I want a starting right back that challenges Arsenal. That's not a championship right back, though.
No, I was more thinking in terms of like wingers and stuff. No, right back, I think we need to go
like a Tom Fellows or somebody, sure.
Okay. We need to go all out for an actual right back and spend a bit of money on it. But you shouldn't have to spend more than like 20, 25 mil to get a good, decent right back who can be an attacking outlet, but decently solid defensively. Not asking for a lot.
You'd think so, but in the prices in football, like the rest of the world, are getting inflated. So maybe it is more, because you think the cost of getting Tyler Diblin was quite expensive too. So things are expensive, and you just have to eat. Okay, well, guess what? Other agents could do the same thing. Tyler Diblin may have a good agent, but he's not the only one. There's a reason why it's hard to bring in players, because you have to fork out the money or have a good youth system. And both of those, either you have money and patience or you have a project. And our project isn't ready to bring in available right back, so we need to go to the market.
Yeah. They're not going to be. Yeah, they're going to need some sort of developing. They're not going to be completely finished article at that level, willing to come to Everton at the moment.
Yeah.
But they will be much better than what we have.
Yeah. So, well, I think maybe we end it here. We've got.
What time is it for you over there? You must be shattered.
Yeah, I got up at 2:50 in the morning to do the shows, and it's nearly 7 a.m.
Okay. So you went to bed and then you got up. Oh, God.
Yeah, so I didn't watch any of the other matches just so I could be up for this. Otherwise, you really destroy yourself into an all-nighter in your 30s. Not that you couldn't, but you just don't need to. Anyway,
no, don't do that.
Speaking of all-nighters, Santa Claus is going to be pulling an all-nighter here in about 4 days. So I think we've got... So it'll be Christmas Eve on the Wednesday. Christmas Day is Thursday this year. Our next match will be the 27th. I think I'll be doing it, but I might be not in a regular studio with some family commitments.
Yeah,
it's I'm not sure when the preview happens, but it can be a wonderful time of the year, but it can be a really difficult time for a lot of people, depending on how your family and emotional situation is. So look out for your friend. Keep in touch with your friends, wish them well, and make sure that people aren't being forgotten in this time. and give everyone a little toffee apple if you can, and try and convert them from being a red.
Preview scheduled for, I believe, Christmas Day, but I anticipate that's not going to be the case. So,
well, you want people to watch it, and they're like, do they want? I mean, I don't want to encourage people to not hang out with their families to watch Follow Everton. So we got to structure it. Maybe it's Boxing Day. Just squeeze it in.
I don't know why it's gone down for Christmas Day. I think that's a mistake, but we could,
Well, what I do when I made the schedule, I just simply said the match is on a Saturday, make it a Thursday, and just pulled it back. Whoever wants to decide to be available, they'll find a better time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that mistake will be about as bad as this one.
Oh no! Oh, that was awful. I just wanted him to. I wanted Sky to stop showing me the replay.
Make it stop.
I knew it was going to be a penalty. I don't need to see it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I almost feel like that's the World Cup, where where all the hands are on the football.
Oh.
Anyway, everyone have a fantastic Christmas, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, enjoy this time off. A lot of people have it off, but as I said, keep in touch with your friends and colleagues. It's not always easy for everybody. Until next time, up the toffees.
The toffees.